Stand proud in who you are, because this is the only way that we are going to change things in our modern world. This is the only way that we are going to be able to set examples for younger women who see us over there. I'm a little under the weather, but I really wanted to make this video for you because I love you all and I really just enjoy this. Like I've stated before, this is my fun, this is my play, and I love making videos for all of you. I hope you had a great New Year celebration, or if you're like me, you like to stay on the couch and have a more chill, relaxing evening. Nevertheless, I hope you are ready to hit the ground running and accomplish all of the things that you want to accomplish in the new year. For the sake of accomplishing my goal, myself, being more transparent with you in the new year, I thought that I would share with you similar to what I did with my femininity video. I will link it above, where I would talk to you about how I became more traditional. I have had this video in the works for a few months, but I was hesitant to put it out there, and I'm also not the first person on the niche to talk about this type of topic. I would love to know how you have become a more traditional woman down below, and if you have a blog or if you have a YouTube channel, if you want to make this video and then tell me that you make it, or I guess I will just find it, hopefully. I would love to know your experience. This is something that just intrigues me. How people become more feminine, how people become more traditional, how people become better homemakers. I am genuinely interested. If you're new to my channel, please hit that red subscribe button, because we talk about all things femininity, we talk about homemaking, and we just try to improve and encourage each other in being ladylike, elegant, and classy women. My name is Cynthia. I'm a 20-something traditional wife and homemaker, and I'm also a former Miss Canada. Enough about me. I know my intros are pretty long, so let's get into the video. I wanted to right off the bat lay the foundation for you, because it all happened a long time ago. But in reality, no, it didn't happen a long time ago. It happened a few years ago when I was just really frustrated with my life and not exactly feeling the calling to become a boss babe, but more so feeling the calling to become a wife and to become a homemaker. I was supposed to be a doctor. If you want to know more about that story, you can like this video and let me know. If you are a doctor, this is not me saying it's bad, okay? It's not bad. One of my best friends is a doctor. I am just telling you that I was called to go more of the working from home route. I don't want to say unemployed, because I do work really hard, but you understand the picture. Regardless of if you have a career outside of the home or not, I still think that you can become a more traditional woman by incorporating traditional practices that best suit you. I always feel a sort of, jealousy is not the right word, because I don't practice that emotion in my life, but I guess you could say admiration for people who live in an environment where more women live traditionally, but I do not. And if you live a more traditional life, then you are kind of marginalized in a sense. And so if you feel that way, please know that you are not alone, and on this channel you can really find solace. So without further ado, let's get into number one. One of the ways I became more traditional, which you could probably guess, is I live a more traditional marriage. This means that my husband is the primary breadwinner and I am in charge of the home. This means that everything that goes on in my home, and this does not mean that my husband can't do any work. My husband was in the army before, and he knows how to clean more properly than I do. He knows how to do laundry better than I do. There are so many things that he is better at domestically than I am. However, the way in which we have the roles split is that I take care of the household duties. And personally, I feel as though this is a great split for me, because I love taking care of my home and I love doing all that kind of stuff. I find that it brings me so much joy. I of course have bad days, but pouring into my home and working with my hands around my home does give me satisfaction, so much more compared to any other job that I had. And I did have a lot of jobs before. Another part of marriage is that I let my husband lead, and this is so naturally difficult for me because I am a very stubborn person and I am the type of person that thinks that my decision is best. But I have really grown as a person, letting my husband lead. This doesn't mean that I let him make a bad decision, but he doesn't make a bad decision. He has a better moral compass than I do. For me, this just meant that I put a greater deal of trust in him. And when you trust somebody that you love, this is one of the ways that you show love to them. And I'm telling you that this is one of the ways that my marriage improved. My husband did not know that I began doing this, but when I began doing this, he felt so much more appreciated and so much more valued. For lack of a better term, I would encourage you to explore being a submissive wife. And when I'm talking about submissive, I do not mean in a sexual way. I mean submissive in exactly what I just talked to you about. You can also take this in a biblical sense if you are a Christian, and it really is a beautiful thing, and it's not a demeaning thing. Trust me, when you begin to learn what it actually is, this does not mean that your husband doesn't serve you in other ways. This just means that you become a better giver, I guess you could say. And I'm telling you, it's not oppressive at all. The second one, which I'm not going to give you medical advice, this is not medical advice, but it has to surround the topic of health. I went more natural in so many ways, especially when my mother was diagnosed with cancer. I just kind of went a little bit extreme and became very, very natural. It's been at least like a year and a half, I would say, since I quit all forms of medication and I did this cold turkey, not medical advice again, but I just felt the need to be off of these kinds of medications. I found that I was very attached to these kinds of medications because I was living the way that many women live nowadays, which is very stressed out, not exactly living the life that they are called to live, that could differ from person to person, and trying to do it all to prove to the world that you are a valuable woman. I experienced so much stress, so much pain, and so much anxiety living this way, and I know that the common criticism could be, well, I just couldn't handle it. But I'm going to tell you that I had a really successful life path, and I was doing well in everything that I took on. But I just felt that it was not authentically me, and I was just trying to be what the media portrays as a successful woman. On a more lighter note concerning health, I practice NFP, which is natural family planning, and I've also talked about cycle syncing, and I would encourage you to look into that, because cycle syncing and getting to know your cycle, whether or not you are working and busy woman, you can do little tweaks that are going to help you live in alignment with your natural menstrual cycle. I also began eating a more wholesome and natural diet. For me, because of my mom having cancer, and she has a naturopathic doctor, and we were very involved in her care, having a lot of specialists, we found that plant-based, this does not mean you don't eat meat. This means that you eat meat that is grass-fed, you eat meat that comes from free-run farms. I order my meat now, and you eat more plants. I'm not perfect. As you can tell in my stories, I like to eat out. My husband and I do like some treats, and I felt like I have had a lot of treats lately because of the move, and I have seen it on the scale. But apart from the hectic times, I do live a more plant-based, natural, organic diet. My philosophy really is that if it comes in its purest form, then it is pretty traditional. Think about the ways that your ancestors, for example, ate. I like to think about the beginning of Canada. How do you think those people ate? Take in consideration the weather, take in consideration that they had to can things, for example, take in consideration that they ate starchy vegetables, and that their meat wasn't pumped with antibiotics. The next thing I want to talk to you about has to do with my appearance. This is especially interesting because I did adopt a more fake looking appearance when I competed in pageants. But what I always tell people is you have to look at modeling, and I don't mean like raunchy Instagram modeling, I mean people who are actual models. And pageantry as kind of a job. So you can't walk around every single day with the same level of makeup and hair done up that people do when they are working those jobs. The problem with modern society is that we see those people in the media and we try to emulate that in our everyday life. And when you're sitting a few centimeters, a few inches from somebody and they are looking at your face all dolled up like that, it isn't very natural. And I don't know about you, but wearing a large amount of makeup, every time that I had to do that, I had to take it off. You can similarly think about ballet dancers. They are putting on a show and they have to wear stage makeup for a purpose so that their features can be brought out. But you do not need your features to be brought out to the extent where you have a stage light on you in your everyday life, because you don't. So one of the ways that I became more traditional was that I embraced a more natural makeup look. You have to also understand the context. When I am making videos of myself, I can put a little bit more makeup on, but when I'm running to the store, I don't know if that red lip is always appropriate. When I'm going out to a nice dinner, yeah, if I really wanted to, I could put on some bigger lashes. But when I'm at home and I'm just cleaning around the house, it's better to take a more natural approach. Makeup is not meant to transform you into a new person. Makeup is meant to bring out your natural features. Everybody has natural features that are nicer than others, so learn what yours are, play that up with makeup, and don't overdo the rest. Another way that I became more traditional was that I adopted more practices of modesty. Now, this is also another thing that's surprising, because in the world of pageantry and modeling, you do wear things that are more shorter and more skin tight. But I will tell you that I always felt like you needed to have a balance. For example, if I was wearing a dress that was above my knees, I wouldn't simultaneously be exposing my chest area. As I have matured and grown older a little bit, I still try to play up my natural body shape, but I try to do it in a more subtle way. The key is you want to think about balance, and I am not a perfect person, and some people have been dressing more modestly, more appropriately for longer than I have. We are all at different parts in our journey, and you have to discover what is best for you as you are embarking on it. Similarly, you have to kind of consider different colors and prints. Back in the day, people didn't necessarily wear neon, so I try to veer away from trends that aren't exactly timeless. The next thing I want to talk to you about is homemaking, and I mentioned this in my 2020 homemaking goals, that I am very intrigued with how the vintage homemaker did things. You have to put yourself in the context that this was more of a traditional way of life. A woman taking pride in her home, a woman really embracing the title of homemaker, of housewife, is something that is very important. I have become more traditional in the sense that I have looked to these women, and I have also looked to older women. Some older women on this channel watch my videos, and when they give me some advice, I really do cherish it. I also like to read what older women have to say about homemaking and what older women have to teach in my everyday life about homemaking. I have become more traditional in the sense that I tend to go to the older generation for advice on homemaking. I also try to think about how their family dynamics were back in the day so that I can emulate this when I have my own children. I was fortunate to have grown up in a family that, even though my mother did work outside of the home, homemaking was basically her #1 priority. We also had very good family values, but I understand that this isn't the norm nowadays. For this reason, I want to preserve what I have been taught, but I also want to try to learn from those who came before my parents. I think this is another topic that I could talk on and on and on about, and I would love to know how you have become more traditional. And again, if you have a blog, if you have a YouTube channel, I would love for you to make this video. I think you should make this video because I want to know how you have become more traditional. But let me touch upon another fact, which is I have tried to make friends with people, especially in our femininity and homemaking movement, that also want to live a more traditional life. There's something to be said about those you surround yourself with. Surrounding yourself with people who also want to live a more traditional lifestyle, or who are actually doing it, or who have been doing it for longer, is very inspirational to me. I find that I have learned more about homemaking in the past 6 months than I have in the past 3 years of my marriage, just because I have begun embracing my title and I have begun connecting with those who do the same. The last thing I want to talk to you about, and I put it at the end because I know that not everybody can relate, and that has to do with my faith, and I couldn't not put in my faith. And I'm very, very shy to talk about my faith because in certain times of my life I had actually rejected and I was very, very lost. I think that it's kind of normal to a certain extent when you're a young adult or perhaps a teenager to be like finding yourself and discovering what your religion might mean for you. But unfortunately, I had a lot of people that called me a cafeteria Catholic, not a real Catholic. I am a Catholic, but I love all my different denominations of Christians out there. And I didn't really see the beauty in my religion. And all I'm going to say on this is that you have to embark on the journey for yourself. Whether you decide to reject your religion, go to a different denomination, or you decide to embrace it, you need to start that journey for yourself. This will help you live more traditionally because regardless of which branch of Christianity you are in, there are fundamental principles that will help you lead a more wholesome and more fulfilling life. To finish this video, if you are a homemaker, if you want to be a homemaker, please do not be afraid of using your title of homemaker, of saying, I am a homemaker, I want to be a homemaker, I am a housewife, I want to be a housewife. Stand proud in who you are, because this is the only way that we are going to change things in our modern world. This is the only way that we are going to be able to set examples for younger women who see us over there living this very fulfilling traditional life that is kind of shunned by modern society, and realizing that maybe they too want to be a homemaker and they too want to be a housewife, and that it is not a taboo term and it is not a taboo way of living. So with that being said, I love you all and I look forward to our next video. I will see you next time. I hope my voice didn't interrupt your listening experience.